Hi everyone, welcome back to Life of an International Students, where we share real struggles, real stories, and real wins of international students navigating life in the United States. Here today, I have a special guest with me, somebody who works with international students every day here at Huntington University. She's the director of International Student Services and DSO, helping students stay compliant and truly succeeding here in the US. So, guys, help me welcome Sarah Rickerd.
Hello, everybody.
Hi. How are you doing today?
I am very excited because I have been a long-term watcher of this really great show. And of course, the HU international students are my favorite guests that you
Yeah.
have. But it's great because as someone who feels like I know my students really well, listening to their whole story and the questions that you ask
Yeah.
them makes me feel like I get to know them even better and kind of hear their backstories
Yeah.
about home, and I just think you ask great questions of them, so I that's why I'm a big fan of your show, so
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I've been able to put in a little effort for you to get to
yes.
know some people. So
Yes.
yeah, if you jump straight into it and like I'll let you just tell us a little bit about your whole journey of getting into this position.
Right. So, it started back in high school.
Okay.
I took my first French class, and I fell in love with languages, and I fell in
Okay.
love with speaking French, and my dad was an airline pilot and he flew to Europe often. So I got to go with him actually to France and spend time in Europe. And I just fell in love with different cultures and languages, as a girl. And then I went to Asbury University down in
Okay.
Kentucky and I majored in French and also secondary education. And so again, just spent a lot of time learning about languages and how people learn languages and always felt super connected to the international students at my school. And then after the earthquake in Haiti in 2010, we felt that the Lord was directing us to adopt and add children to our family.
Okay.
And so we adopted my two daughters, Kate and Ellie, from Haiti. They're from Port-au-Prince, so
Okay.
they spoke Haitian Creole. And so as a family, we learned Haitian Creole, which is similar to French. And so when they came to our family, we were able to communicate with them in their home country language, which was really great. So that was another connection to international students. And then my son, William, who's a senior at Huntington, he's one of the
Okay.
men's basketball coaches.
Yeah.
He wanted to come to Huntington. He always dreamed of coming to Huntington, and my husband's an alum. So I said, I should try to get a job at Huntington. And so I did. And just through God opening doors, because he knew my heart was for international students, this position opened up. And I was a little bit scared about doing immigration,
Yeah.
when you're doing
Hmm.
the federal government stuff. But God just gave me the ability that I needed to do that. And of course, I had no idea how much I was going to love our international students. And they feel like my own kids, when they're here at Huntington. And so I love coming to work every day. So that's kind of how I got into the role that I'm in now.
So you've been learning French, and I can actually speak it because I learned French for like 14 years and I still couldn't speak it. So
Oh,
like yeah, I was able to write it and get out of like past exams, but like
yes.
I can't speak it. Like I sometimes understand some phrases and some other stuff, but like I still can't speak it. Like what makes you passionate about this job?
For me, honestly, it's the students.
Hmm.
I mean, that is the thing. Even if I'm having a hard day with immigration, or as you know, like there have been a lot of changes in immigration policy with our current US president. And so sometimes that is challenging and gets me down a little bit. But then, one of my students will come around the corner with the big bright smile and you need a hug. And we get to celebrate their moments. And so my students are really the high point of my job, and they just make me smile every day. And like I said, I love them like they're my own kids. They
Yeah,
come to my home for holidays and we spend a lot of time together. I'll get coffee with my students. I come to their soccer games
yeah,
and
I see you
wave the
there. Yeah.
flags. And so they feel like my family. So that's why I love my job.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
nice. Talking about the students, that leads me to my next question. So, we get here and like there's a lot of things going on here, this new environment. So, what do you say throughout your whole experience in this position? What would you say has been the struggles that people first get into when they get here?
Sure. So I would say, I don't think people understand how much international students have to go through when they arrive. You know,
Yeah.
American students, they'll show up with their parents, and their parents have all their furniture and their bedding and their pillows, and they kind of move them into their room,
Yeah.
and, you know, everything is great. And my international students arrive with, you know, maybe one suitcase and their carry-on, and
Accumulated
it's like,
backpack.
right, I guess I gotta go to Walmart and get a pillow and like a
Yeah.
blanket and
Mhm.
things like that. And then often, you know, if their English is not the best yet, when you're hearing another language all day long, it is exhausting mentally and physically. So college classes are hard, but
Mhm.
when you are listening to all of that material in a different language, you know, my students will come in sometimes and they just look tired. I just say, crash on my couch. Me and Destiny will get you some chocolate because that's exhausting. And then also a big thing that students, you know, an adjustment for them, and I know you've talked about this in some of your
Yeah.
interviews, is food.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
you don't realize how much you take for granted your
Yeah.
own home country food until you're away from it. And actually, I finished my master's degree last spring, and
Okay.
what I studied for my thesis was the dietary acculturation of international students. And so, what that process is for my international students, how hard that is, and how that affects their mental health while they're
Okay.
here. And so, I watch my students struggle with, boy, this is American food, and, you know, this is dining commons food, you
Yeah.
know, and how do I really miss having my mom's rice and, you know, other things
Yeah.
like that. So I would say those are some of the struggles that I've learned to kind of see ahead of time and then offer some suggestions on how to manage that when they get here. So
Yeah, I will let you elaborate more on your thesis, right? Because this is something everybody mentions anytime they jump on my podcast.
yes,
Everybody mentions
I
food, you
always
know.
laugh when I hear
So
that because
yeah,
I'm like, yep, here it comes again.
yeah. Is there any knowledge or something you want to share about that?
So I think for me, what was important to learn is that students need to be able to have the ability to make food from their home country
Yeah.
while they're here. Because a lot of students, I'm a mom, I have 4 kids, 2 of my children are in college. And, you know, when you're at home, you don't cook a lot. Mom does the
Yeah.
cooking, like probably at
Uh-huh.
your
Yeah.
home, you know, mom or somebody else was cooking. So the students come here and they're hungry and they want their home country food, but they don't know how to make it. So, as part of my research, we talked about allowing students to use the multicultural house across the street,
Okay.
which has a full kitchen, teaching students how to cook so they can make their home country food. And I know Destiny and I have explored some different markets in Fort Wayne and
Yeah.
Indianapolis where you would have access to ingredients to be able
Okay.
to make your food. We've actually talked to moms in other countries on the phone, like, "So how do you make this kind of rice?" You know, so we can help their kids
Yeah.
know how to make their food here because I think, you know, it empowers students
Mhm.
to learn because 'cause you're gonna be on your own,
Yeah.
and I just think if we can help students learn how to make their home country food, then they can make it for themselves, introduce other people to
Mhm.
it as well, and then when they're on their own, they already know how to make their own food, and they're ready to go. But I do think it's a really important piece of helping international students to feel comforted and feel like they can do this hard thing of, you know, doing school in the US
Yeah.
because, boy, you miss your home food
Uh-huh.
when you don't have it.
Yeah.
So that was my research.
Yeah, and I'll personally attest to that. Like last semester, I came to this event you guys had. The
Oh,
internet.
the banquet?
Yep, I really
Wasn't
loved it.
that
Yeah,
so
it
good?
was so good. Like
Oh,
me getting the chance to even taste other countries' food. I had this
yes.
Indian food, I had Nigerian food, and some Caribbean food, which was nice. And I know I don't know if anybody has said this to you guys. You guys are really doing amazing.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
because
Thanks.
I went to Foreign, the marketing Foreign, in international marketing Foreign. The woman told me that she said Destiny brought some students in there to
Mhm.
shop, and that's really nice. Like driving out, like I think it's like 15 minutes drive or something.
Yep.
To yeah, that's really nice of you guys. So I was standing in for all international students and say thank you guys for the
Oh,
amazing work you guys have
thank
done.
you.
We appreciate that. So yeah,
Thank you.
and for the guys on the soccer team, we also say we appreciate you guys. I remember our last home game, you guys were there cheering
With
for
the
us in the cold.
cowbells.
I know. So yeah, that was really tough and nice. Like be on the field and having somebody with your flag on the side, that really shows a lot and like makes you want to run more, you know. So
Oh,
we
thank
appreciate
you.
you guys
We
for
didn't
that.
know if you guys could hear us because
No, we actually
it
do.
was cold and it was windy and we had the cowbells. We were ringing as hard
Yeah.
as we could. We were all wrapped in blankets,
Yeah,
but
really do, really do. That's like
oh,
that's
good.
one of my favorite things doing because like when I was playing Lubbock, anytime I'm about to step on the field, I see the team has our flag on the side. So like
Oh,
those things actually, it might be little things, but like it actually gives us like energy or like some different
yes.
feeling to push harder. So I would
It
say,
feels good to see
yeah,
your
it
flag,
really
doesn't it?
does. Yeah,
Yeah,
for real. Yeah.
it does.
So yeah, with that being said, I'll go to the compliance side because
Okay.
like that's a very tricky conversation.
Mhm.
We end up messing things up, and like sometimes you might hear this from somebody, you might hear that from somebody. But you being
Mhm.
the DSO, I think you are the right person to actually come to you with this. So with we being in status yet, what are the things that we have to do to maintain our status?
Mhm. So I appreciate you mentioning that I am the DSO, and actually, the university just told me that next month I will start being the PDSO for our university, which
Okay,
is the principal designated school
that's
official.
nice.
And so I always encourage my students because everybody's watching TikTok,
Yes.
or they'll come to me
Hmm.
and say, "Hey, I saw on TikTok that international students can't buy apples anymore or something," and I'm like, "What? No." Like, come and see me first.
Yeah.
So I always encourage international students. The DSO or the PDSO is
Hmm.
here to advise you. And
Okay.
I am reading things from the government all the time. They're sending me things. So when in doubt, come and ask me. I love to help, students
Yeah.
because I want you to stay in status as much as the government does and as much as you do too. So I always encourage students, don't listen to rumors. Don't come in and say, my friend said, because it's
Yeah.
usually not true. But come and see your DSO, and then we can tell you the latest, advice from the government to help you stay in status because it can be really complicated. And
Yeah.
students are busy. You guys
Mhm.
have all these other things you have to think about. So I just say, don't worry about it. Come and see me, and I'll, give you the latest information on that.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. But when one thing too is one thing I like about the studies here in the US, like it's not only academics. It's kind of give you opportunities to apply the knowledge you get from the class through like
Mhm.
OPT and
Yes.
CPTs. You know, we get that confused too. You know.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's
So
good.
like
There's a lot of acronyms like
yeah.
CPT, OPT,
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
DHS, there's a lot USCIS, so
So yeah, I
yeah,
want you to like tell us the difference between the CPT and OPT and
sure.
when you can do them and like how beneficial it can be with you staying here.
Yeah, great question. So CPT stands for Curricular Practical Training, and international students have to be studying in the US for 1 year
Yeah.
before they can do that. So at the end of my students' freshman year, that's when we start talking about internships and working off campus because as you mentioned, international students don't just have regulations regarding classes,
Yeah.
they have regulations about work too. So international students are required to only work on campus their freshman year. But then starting that summer after that, you can find internships off campus that have to do with your major and
Okay.
they're for class credit. So I always tell students, is it for a class and are you getting credit? That's CPT. And we have wonderful professors here that are passionate about their students
Yeah.
that I tell go speak to your advisor or a professor that you really like. And they have a lot of contacts in business all over the US. You could do an internship in Florida over the summer if you want to. So that's CPT. And then OPT is really exciting. When you finish a degree level, so when you finish your undergrad degree, the US government says you have 12 months to work at a job anywhere in the US in a job that has to do with your major.
Okay.
So if you are a business major and you want to work at, some business that is located in Texas, you can do that. And you
Okay.
can do that for 12 months for pay. So you
Mhm.
actually can make money off of your degree, which
Yeah.
is I would say probably the majority of my students graduating, that's what they want to do. They want to do OPT.
Okay.
And then I always encourage them after OPT to do grad school. And then you get to do OPT again.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. That's nice. And
Yeah.
yeah, I'm glad you've been able to clear this because like yeah, a lot of people get it confused and like I'm
Yes.
glad you've been able to clear this. That's really helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next thing will be about the visa issues. There's a lot going on. I know, like me from Ghana, a lot of people get refused, and I know you guys don't really have enough control over that. But what are the things with your experience here? What do you think has been the regular issues or the things that actually come up when people actually get their visa refused?
So I would say Whenever I have a student that's going to be going to a visa interview, I always have a Zoom meeting with them and we kind of talk about what they might expect because some of it is just nerves. You're kind of nervous about it. So if the student wants to meet with me before, I'm happy to meet with them. And I might even pretend to be like an interviewer because, what they're looking for is they're looking for your English skills. They want to
Okay.
make sure that you're very fluent like
Mhm.
you are. And then they also are looking for, do you have enough financial support to be able to come to the US? Because some students get denied because they may have like a really great soccer scholarship, but
Yeah.
they don't have any money from
Mhm.
their family or for them. And so the
Okay.
government says, well, if you're going to lose your soccer scholarship, then who will pay for school if you're in
Yeah.
the US? So making sure that you're able to cover the cost of school, they're going to look at
Mhm.
that. And I help with that too.
Okay.
Meet with a student, we talk about bank statements, and you're allowed to have a sponsor. So I
Okay.
help students through that process as well. And then they also, this is a new thing as of last June, they're looking at your social media.
Okay.
So they ask you to make your social media public. And then they actually have people at the consulate or the embassy who will look on your social media just to make sure that there isn't, hate speech against
Okay.
the United States or against other cultures or people because, they want you to come as a welcomed guest and to
Yeah.
be here as a student and just to enjoy, the benefits of our country and the
Mhm.
education system and not come here for political reasons.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for. So that's kind of what the visa interviews are now. And
Okay.
if a student does get denied, they always will provide you with a reason.
Okay.
And so when the student would come to me and say, I got denied, then I would look at the reasons why. And then I would say, okay, for your next interview, because if you go a second time, you have to bring additional documentation.
Yeah.
Then I would say, okay, they said this was what was missing. So
Mhm.
when you go next, let's make sure you're bringing this with you to the interview.
Okay.
So I would never say just go to the second interview the same because you'll get, denied
Then
again.
again, yeah.
But yes, I always try to come up with something strategic. But unfortunately, as of last summer, there are a number of countries that it is more difficult to get a visa. The government won't say it, but I think that there is, in some cases, almost like a number that they're looking for from
Okay.
each country.
Okay.
So even if you are an amazing student and you have the bank statement, you've got everything, they may decide, well, we feel like we've given enough visas to students
Mhm.
from Kenya. And so that can be really, really hard. So I just encourage my students. I pray for each one of them. I pray with them. Last year when the visas stopped and they weren't doing any visa interviews
Yeah.
for a month, that was really hard for my students that I was working with. But we just prayed and thankfully God reopened that door. And while other universities saw like an 8% decrease in their international students, Huntington saw an 87% increase. So
That's
I
nice.
just
Yeah.
think that's God blessing what we're doing here
Yeah.
and just helping students come and enjoy HU with us.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. I would really, this is really important to me. So some students end up getting their visa revoked and getting out of status. I don't know if you ever had this
Mhm.
happen to somebody here in this situation. What does the students do, and like what would you say they should do immediately?
So I always encourage students if there's been a mistake
Hmm.
or maybe they're working without authorization and
Hmm.
they didn't realize it, or, we've had students at home or maybe they signed up for too many online classes.
Hmm.
That's another thing to be really careful of. Um, I always say go to your DSO first
Okay.
because that's the person that can help you sort of unravel it, talk to the government, be an advocate and figure out, how best to do that.
Okay.
We have had some students where things have happened that, I've contacted the government and worked with the government and the student to get them back into status so that
Okay.
they can, join us again because
Hmm.
I want them, to be here.
Yeah.
So I always encourage students go to your DSO first and they will be your champion, to help
Yeah.
you get it worked out
Hmm.
and to get you here. I would say the only time that we've had something revoked where we couldn't do anything with it would be like if a student committed a serious crime or
Okay.
something like that. That's really difficult, to manage. But a lot of other things you can work with the government to get the student because most of the time it's just a mistake that the student made. They
Okay.
didn't realize, what they were doing. So the government is understanding and, you do everything you can to get the student back into status. So,
I mean, I'm really glad you've been able to share this with us because throughout the last year or so, like this been a very big. Me myself, I got my visa revoked, and in like 2 weeks time it got reinstated. I didn't do nothing about it. Like they just came back and I don't know how, but like I was just glad it came back. And like
yes.
that was when I was applying for the masters and all that. I was able
Yeah.
to get continue my education here. So yeah,
Oh,
it was
good.
this question was really personal to me because I had a first hand experience in there. So yeah.
Yeah.
The next thing I would like to talk about is the issues we deal with. I mean, we already talk about food,
Hmm.
but I know there are some things like homesickness and like we already talk about language barrier, but like one thing is homesickness and like mental health
Yes.
here dealing with like sometimes people who are scared to express themselves because the language barrier, that
Mhm.
aside that it actually affects you mentally because like imagine I want to express myself, I really know what I want to say, but I can't say it in the right way in English.
Yes.
Those things. How do you guys help students, or how does the department has a department provided some resources that the students can be aware of
Hmm.
to take advantage of to deal with these situations?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I would say I I would say I haven't had one international student yet that hasn't
Hmm.
experienced homesickness because, college is hard.
Yeah.
Classes are hard. And when you're away from your family and your friends and your normal support system and you're
Yeah.
here, it can be really challenging. And so I always encourage students. I just had a talk with a new
Yeah.
student yesterday about this. Let people know. You have to tell someone
Yeah.
that, boy, I'm just not really great. I'm really missing my family. And then we can help support you. Like
Mhm.
one thing that we offer at Huntington is free counseling
Okay.
for all students.
Mm.
So we have, certified mental health counselors on staff. We have men and women. Keaton Albert, the women's coach, is one
Yeah.
of our
Hmm.
counselors. And so we will refer a student to one of the counselors and they can have free counseling with people that have worked with international students before. So they'll give you the tools to kind of work through that. And then also, as a Christian, I always love praying with my
Hmm.
students and I pray for my students as
Yeah.
well. So that's really important. And I encourage them. We like to think of ourselves as a family here.
Yeah.
Like I know the guys on your team, they're like your brothers. I've seen you with them. You're really close. And so I would just encourage you to find your tribe, to find your family, the group. If you're not an athlete, then get involved in one of the clubs or student
Mhm.
government or maybe the theater group or singing in chapel or something so that you can have that family around you because like you have kind of two families. You
Yeah.
have your soccer team and then you also have the international students.
Mhm.
We're kind of a family too. And so once you find those connections, it helps homesickness not be so hard, and it will never go away. I mean, you love your family and your home country so much, and I've had students that have been so homesick that they'll have, like stomach ulcers because they didn't tell anyone. They just suffered in silence.
Yeah.
So, as someone who works with international students, if you're an international student starting to feel that way, tell a trusted friend
Yeah.
or someone like me that can help direct you to the things like you said, the resources that will help you get through that hard time. So,
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing more to add to that. You really said everything, and like,
yeah.
I will entreat you guys to just find the right person to talk to, and like, I haven't really gotten the chance to talk to people that are not athletes. That's been really a struggle trying to find people that are not athletes to talk to it because like most of them they'll open up and maybe I've not really tried hard to get them because I'm really trying to get people who are not athletes to talk to because I know athletes we kind of have some things that kind of occupied our time that mostly I know we get homesickness and all that, but
Mhm.
when I have practice, when I have this back to back,
That's
I can't.
true.
It kind of get me occupied.
Yeah.
But people who are not athletes that just go to class, maybe go to work,
Mhm.
and like they have a lot of time on their hands.
Yeah.
So I know with them it's gonna be a very big struggle. So guys, I will treat if you are somebody who is not an athlete and just here in the US studying, I will treat you just as she said, find your group,
Yeah.
get to talk to with anybody at the international students department and I promise you, they are always willing to help. From my experience, they are always willing to help you. So, guys, make sure you use them. Yeah. The next thing will be your whole experience with international students. I know you have fun every time I see you talking to international students with this big smile on your
Yeah.
face. So, like, how has been your experience with international students here?
I have one thing that I have learned to love so much is learning about all of the different cultures and the gifts that all of our international students have. I mean, obviously athletes, that's easy to see, what your gift is. But seeing like Abby Meja Leon, her sister Bea is this amazing artist. And she was in today, she won a whole bunch of art awards. And I did an OPT interview with her for Steel Dynamics in Fort Wayne, which is a really big company. And just getting to see her face light up when she talked about her art projects and her graphic design. I just love kind of being a cheerleader for your lives, and getting to see all of you
Yeah.
come from like when you arrive, you're a little unsure and maybe still working on your English to, when you're graduating, you're super strong in all the areas and you're independent and you found your calling. And that's one of my favorite things. I just love kind of being a support system and a cheerleader.
Yeah.
And I love, like, we started an Instagram account this year. And so I've been trying to post fun, videos like TikToks. The students always are happy to do things like that. But like our international banquet. And that's one of my favorite events
Yeah, I
because
love it.
the basketball team came and we were so full they had to sit out in the hallway because we didn't have any tables left. So I just think being around the students that are just so energetic and fun and just at such an exciting time of life, that just really fills my heart. And I love that I get to be a part of that at Huntington. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I was reading about you, and I found out you also lead some prayer and like gospel group here.
Mm.
So that and this school being a Christian school, I wanna ask, how have you seen faith has an impact in some of the international students' life, and how have you seen it help people?
Yeah. So, one new thing this year that I think is so exciting is the president, Pepper, and also some HU donors donated money and collected money for our international students
It's
have
nice.
Bibles in their home country language. So we have had students like Ryo request a Bible. So it would be half Japanese, half English. So you can
Yeah.
read the Bible while you're in your home country language and English at the same time. And so we've had, I think, probably like 15, 16 students request them. And we've had Spanish, Portuguese, Japanese, all these different languages that the spiritual formation office, they're the ones that run chapel, the
Okay.
campus pastors, they've ordered the Bibles. So the students just go there and they pick them up. And that has been really exciting because when I see students doing devotions or studying the Bible with other students and they have their dual translation Bible, I love that because it just reminds you. Sometimes people in North America think, God is like the God of the United States. And I'm like, no, God is a global God. I mean, John 3:16, for God so loved the world,
Yeah.
the whole world. And so I love hearing from my international students about what they're learning at church and just how they're making their faith their own and how that has helped them get through homesickness and
Yeah.
hard times. Just that really strong faith. I loved your interview with O'Neill and
Yeah.
hearing about his faith too. So yeah, that's another really special thing about my job too. Just seeing students discover God's word and the Lord Jesus Christ has just been really, as a Christian, I love seeing that too. So
But I just want to have a quick question for you. So like
yes.
now with you learning about all these different cultures, like
Yeah.
what country do you want to visit now?
Oh, that's so hard. I was talking to my students about it the other day because I said,
Yeah.
I have students in all these countries.
Mhm.
I could just go and just kind of visit everybody.
Let me make it easy on you. Let's say 3 countries you would want to visit now.
Yes, I mean, probably like Greater Accra would be super fun because
Yeah.
I have not been to that area before.
Okay.
And I have some students from that area, and I just think it would be so fun to go there and just taste the food, see the culture.
Yeah.
So maybe one day when I stop working, I'll have time to go there. But
Yeah.
but yes, I would love to go there one day. It'd be exciting.
Yeah, we
Where
go.
would you like to go now that you
Me?
have all these friends around the
Yeah.
world?
I've had a lot of international students. Like I really have a lot of friends from different countries.
Yeah, you
But
do.
I really want to go to Belize because like my best
Oh,
friend is from Belize. Had him we were roommates, and like he was my first friend from when I got to Indiana Tech and all that. We met the first day I got to school. So Belize would be on top of my list.
That would be beautiful. That's a good choice.
And I would say Barbados and Jamaica. I'll probably stay in the Caribbean.
Maybe I'll join you there. Those sound like good countries too.
Yeah, I really want to do a food trip on the Caribbean because I really have friends that are from the Caribbean that tell me a lot about Caribbeans and
yes.
Yeah, I think we have a little bit. There's a slight difference between their culture and the African culture, which I really want to explore. So yeah.
And they pick fresh fruit right off the trees.
Yep, we do the same too.
I know. I can't even imagine how fun that would be to walk out, just pick bananas and pick. Yeah.
Yeah, it just like growing up, we like, especially in the summer where we don't have school. You wake up in the morning, you go and play soccer. Like walking around with friends playing soccer, you get hungry, you just see a tree, plug mangoes, bananas, anything, just eat.
That's so neat.
Yeah, you only go home when it's night.
You have no idea how cool that is. We don't have that. Maybe apples. You could pick apples off the trees around here, but that's about it. Yeah. So no mangoes.
Yeah, those experiences are fun, but yeah, as you said, like you might not know how cool it is until like you lose it. Like when I got here, like there are some foods when I was in Ghana I didn't like them, but now when I got here, those are the ones I can easily get. So yeah, I didn't like rice until I got to the United States. Now, like every day, I know every day rice is part of my meal because that's the easiest side I could get. So,
that's a comfort food. I love rice.
We take them for granted when we are back home, but now
that is true.
Yeah. So yeah, I really appreciate you for joining me today.
Of course.
And you've been really supportive. I really appreciate your kind words every day.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
and really any international students that are watching this that are interested in Huntington, Douglas and I would love to talk to you. We would love to invite you to HU and join our family here and all the good things that are happening at our school, the undergrad and grad, because you're a grad student. So we love that too. So join the.
Yesterday I checked, I'm almost 100. So yeah, that's
you deserve that. That is good. You should have like a little trophy here. 100.
100 is for me. It's a lot. It's a lot.
That is a lot.
I can't walk around and get 100 people to talk to. So like, I'm really glad you guys have been with me through this journey. So yeah, thank you and keep subscribing and keep sharing if you like this, and I'll keep on bringing you these guys.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So guys, see you.
Bye.
Bye.